hope we're live. Looks like we're live. Hello everyone, and welcome to yet another Adlutin session. Let's make a little bit of an announcement and officially start the stream as usual, as we usually do. Let's wait for the Discord. Of course, let's do a red circle. Thank you, Discord. Live on Twitch. And what are we doing today on Twitch television website? Today we are generating assembly with PHP. That's what we're doing today. So let me give the link to the Twitch channel where we're doing all of the shenanigans. And let me ping everyone who's interested in being pinged. And there we go. The stream has officially started. So today is the second episode of c.php. Essentially the April Fool's joke that I did on April 1st, right? So the initial idea was to actually write, implement a small subset of C in PHP that actually compiles down to assembly. But unfortunately, I ran out of time, so I settled on compiling to Python, right? So because it was just like easier, right? So we've got an AST, and that AST was easy to just translate one-to-one to Python, right? But that's not really satisfying, if you know what I mean. It's not really satisfying. I initially wanted to do assembly, so I decided to do a second stream where we're gonna implement the assembly backend for our compiler, right? So that's gonna be the idea for today's stream. So essentially we have a simple hello world in here, right? So we have a couple of more examples because Strager actually contributed some optimizations and stuff like that. Thank you so much, Strager, for contributing to this project. Right, so and we're compiling that to Python, right? So and our goal for today is going to be actually compile this specific subset of C to assembly, right? So that's basically the idea. Let's take a look at what we have already. So I'm going to go to this entire thing, c.php, right, and I'm gonna take a look. So what's the status of this thing? Okay, let's fetch the latest stuff because we have some stuff, you know, committed. Hello everyone, welcome. So we've got a couple of subs. I think I need to acknowledge them. I'm pretty sure I have to acknowledge them. So Danny Silvera. Oh, Dan is... I don't know how to pronounce your nickname, I'm really sorry, but thank you so much for Twitch Prime. Compotic Dot, thank you so much for tier 1 subscription with the message, hello, happy coding. Hello, Compotic, to you too. Thank you for tier 1 subscription. Azura Akumore, I hope I pronounced your nickname correct, thank you so much for Twitch Prime with the message, 10-month Epic PHP Club, Sodin Hyper. Yes, indeed, we are finally Epic PHP Club. And Fengchi with a tier 1 subscription for 46 months. Holy shit, with the message ayaya, ayaya, ayaya. Thank you so much for a tier 1 subscription. Ayaya indeed. Ayaya indeed. Alrighty, so let's take a look at what we got. Right, so we have this hello C example, and let's actually start c.php compiler, right? So we have to provide an example, and as you can see, it actually generates this entire thing. So I think I didn't merge whatever I actually fetched, right? So let me do git merge origin master. There we go. So now we're talking, because we have a slightly different example in here. As you can see, we have more things in here, right? So if we run this entire thing, as you can see, we have the Python code. We can redirect that code to hello.py. I'm pretty sure you can't see shit in this mist, right? So let me quickly put something behind my camera. I forgot to do that again. Probably should put that into my to-do list, so I don't forget to do that right before the stream, right? So and now I cannot see the same thing you cannot see. Isn't that poggers? Holy shit. Okay, so I redirected this to a separate thing, and now I can do Python 3 hello.py, and as you can see, it prints exactly what it's supposed to print. We can even compare this entire stuff with an actual C compiler, right? So we can do something like this. And ooh, no man, this is because it is called hello. That's why. Right, and you can see that it's actually identical behavior, absolutely identical behavior. Isn't that poggers? That's fucking insane. Holy shit. So anyway, Yesu. So that's basically what we have in here. So let's go ahead and see what we can extend and how exactly we can extend this entire thing. Right, so we have a little bit of a code from Striker. Thank you so much for committing this code. So I suppose it would be nice to somehow maybe have a special flag for different targets, if you know what I mean. Right, so essentially we only accept the file path, right? We only accept the file path, but it would be nice if we could do something like php c.php, right? We could provide hello.c, and then we could do something like target, and we could specify something like Python 3. Right, Python 3. Or in our case, I want to be able to use assembly, right? But assembly is actually very vague thing, right? What does assembly even mean, right? So because assembly is not a particular language, by the way. There is this wide belief that assembly is somehow a very specific, concrete language. It's actually not. It's a family of different languages, right? So you have different kinds of dialects of assembly depending on the CPU you use, right? So in my case, I'm using x86-64, right? What's interesting is that in the specific target for this compiler, just knowing the specific architecture is not enough, because usually the programs do not exist in a vacuum, right? So sometimes they do, but usually if you want to have anything useful, you need to interact with an operating system, right? And depending on an operating system, you interact with it differently, right? So, well, I mean, you can generally say that you issue syscalls, but depending on the operating system, you issue syscalls differently. They use different registers to denote the specific syscall. They use different numbers and so on and so forth. So if you have a program that is written for Linux, it won't be able to interact with Windows, right? Because the Windows just won't understand these kind of syscalls they're trying to communicate, and vice versa. Well, I mean, these days, due to WSL, I think Windows will be able to do that, but that's besides the point. So what I'm saying is that knowing architecture of the CPU is not enough. You also need to know the operating system you are operating on, right? So I suppose one of the targets that we're gonna add is gonna be x86-64 Linux. But what's interesting is that it's also not enough, right? Because what we're gonna be generating assembly text for an external assembly tool to assemble this entire stuff. You know what I mean? Right. So, and there are different kinds of assemblies with different syntaxes. Even though you're writing, your program for Linux on x86-64 processor, you may write it differently depending on the assembly you're using, right? So, what exactly are you using? Are you using NASM or using fasm? Or you're using GNU assembly, which is like AS or something. I think it's called GAS, right? And they have different syntaxes. Even though you're writing for the same operating system, for the same architecture, depending on the compiler, the syntax is going to be different, right? So it's fucking insane. It's fucking bananas, right? So what we have to say. So usually I prefer to use something like fasm, right? Because it's probably the smallest assembly out there. It's very minimalistic, and it actually does precisely what I want. And furthermore, it's self-hosted. Yes, fasm or flat assembler is actually self-hosted. It's written in itself. It's actually super cool. Right, so I think you can find it on GitHub, right? So there is some versions on GitHub. It's kind of, I hope that's what it is. This is the official. What is this one? And what is it? Why is it higher than the official one? What kind of search engine optimization hackery is that? This is not supposed to be on the top. This is not the creator. The creator, as far as I know, this is the creator. Luckily, the creator just has more stars, right? So there is no scamming in here. I don't know who that is, but the actual creator is them, right? I remember that their nickname. I don't know how to pronounce this nickname, but I kind of remember the shape of the nickname, if you know what I mean. Thomas Grishtar? I hope I pronounced their name correctly. So yeah, this is the thing, and this thing is written in itself. Right, so which is kind of cool, and that's what we're going to be using today, right? So we're going to add additional target, which is going to be basically fasm x86-64 Linux, right? So we're gonna have two platforms. The first one is gonna be Python 3, just Python 3, and the second platform is gonna be fasm x86-64 Linux. What's funny is that this might not be enough as well, because depending on the version of the Linux, there are slight differences in the syscalls. So it might be worth mentioning for what version of Linux you're writing your program. Is it 2.6 or we're not gonna go there, right? So we're not gonna be using anything except such syscalls as syswrite to write some text into a standard output, and sysexit to just successfully exit out of your program. And I don't think these syscalls changed ever. Right. So yeah, so I don't think they changed that much across different versions of the kernel, if you know what I mean. So to basically combat the problem of incompatible syscalls and stuff like that, Linux distro developers came up with this concept of libc. I'm not sure who came up with that, but essentially libc is supposed to be this sort of like a compatibility layer that basically helps you to adapt your program to different versions of the kernel, so you never have to think about compatibility between different versions. But it didn't really work as expected, as fucking usual, because quite often the Linux distro developers like to recompile their libc so it's not ABI compatible with existing programs anymore, and you have a problem worse than compatibility with syscalls of different versions of Linux. And by the way, Linus Torvalds himself actually complained about that specifically. It's just like, we're working our ass off to not break any of the user code, and those goddamn distro developers just recompile everything however they want, breaking fucking everything. So it's just like, it is more reliable to just write without libc than with libc, right? Because you have less chance of actually your program breaking. You know what I mean? It's actually kind of fun if you think about it. Anyway, so I think we've got another sub. I forgot to acknowledge that. Thank you so much, Hanukkah Max. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Thank you so much for tier 1 subscription. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome to our epic PHP club. A BHP club. Syscalls are pretty stable. So I actually have this interesting thought. If you write program in assembly, x86-64 assembly, without using libc and only relying on the Linux syscalls, your program is going to very likely work on any distribution of Linux. Very likely it's going to work on pretty much any distribution of Linux, because it doesn't depend on libc, so there's less surface of less surface of problems, right? Because a majority of the problems with different distros is in libc. So it's going to work on Linux. It is going to work on FreeBSD, because there is compatibility layer for Linux in FreeBSD, right? It is going to work on Windows, because there is WSL. So, by just writing a program without libc and calling Linux syscalls directly, you're already writing more cross-platform code than using libc. Just think about that. Holy fucking shit. It's gonna work on 3 operating systems. Is it gonna work on macOS? So, as far as I know, macOS is FreeBSD, right? So, does it inherit the FreeBSD compatibility layer with Linux? I just don't know, like I never used macOS. So, if it does, that means it will also work on macOS. So, I mean, it's all under condition that you're not using something like very, very weird that might not work between different compatibility layers and between different versions of the Linux and stuff like that. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. And what's funny is that nobody's thinking about that, right? So I think, by the way, I'm not saying that we have to write our programs like that from now on. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we have to stop, as a software development community, we have to stop and ponder. Do we really understand how cross-platformability works? Because this example kind of shows that we really don't, right? Just saying, right? Just throwing that out there. So, anyways, so we've got some more subs. Thank you so much, Trey Weston, for Twitch Prime subscription. Thank you. QBand3, thank you so much for Twitch Prime subscription. NTX Hacker, thank you so much for 100 bits with the message "I love you." I love you too, a random viewer in the chat. I love you too. Alrighty. So, we need to introduce some flags, right? We need to introduce some flags for the for different platforms, right? So let's actually define something similar to how I defined enumerations in here, you know? So we can define something like, how can I call that? Target Python 3, right? So this is going to be target Python 3. Right, and essentially this just creates a constant, right? This just creates a constant in here that I can use to refer to different things, right? Though we can actually make it equal to the actual string that the user is supposed to provide, right? So the actual string, so then we can compare this and test it. So then I want to do target fasm x86 64 Linux, right, and it's going to be equal to fasm x86 64 Linux. There we go. So this is what we're gonna have. Right, so essentially what I want to do now, I want to parse the command line arguments. So as far as I know, in Perl and Bash, there is an operator called shift. Is there something like shift in PHP? Let's actually find out. Let's actually Google it up. I know that in 2023, it's kind of a, you know, embarrassing to use Google instead of ChatGPT, but it is what it is, and it isn't what it isn't. I don't have a choice. Right, so PHP shift. Let's find out. There is array shift. Okay, that's pretty cool. Isn't it cool? I think it's pretty cool. Why I keep saying that? So you actually pass it by a reference. It's actually kind of cool. PHP has like references, right? So because I keep seeing this ampersand over and over again, and I suppose this is like a pointer, right? So this is the first scripting language I've seen that has pointers. Maybe Perl also has something like that, but it's kind of interesting, right? So anyway, so what do we have in here? We just do array, and it basically pops out, like you have array of fruits, right? And you just pop out the fruit out of that, and what it's supposed to do, it's supposed to actually pop out an orange. Let's actually find out. Let me put this thing in here, and of course here I'm gonna do exit with 6969, and what I want to do in here is just like run this entire thing and see if it will actually print an orange, right? So input is not provided, which is kind of interesting, right? So do I check for the input in here? Right, so I think I'm checking, yeah, I'm checking for the input actually up there, so I want you to actually move it in here. There we go, so that should be fine. There we go, so as you can see we have orange, right, and I should probably try to print the fruit. I just want to see the fruit. Okay, can I print the fruit? I can print the fruit, but it's going to be printed without any new line. Print _r. I'd never heard about this function before, but this sounds like something interesting, if you know what I mean. Can I just like do string interpolation like in Bash? For some reason, Emacs is super slow for me. Yeah, I cannot do that, unfortunately, so I probably have to do some shite like that. Print? Is that because I... Oh, maybe I actually made a typo, that's why I couldn't do that. Wait, is that because of the typo? Is that because of the typo? Okay, so I can actually do this kind of... Yeah, that's pretty cool. So that means this is actually more than enough for me. Right, so we have argc. And in all fairness, I don't quite understand why do I have argc in a language where I can just measure the size of argv. Right. So the reason to have argc is purely because C doesn't have a way to get the size of the array at runtime. It's a hack specifically for C. And in a language where you can just get the length of argv, why the fuck would you have it? So that's a very good question, right? So I don't quite remember, how do you get the length of the array? So PHP array length. It's a size of, okay, so that's cool. I want to actually see what's gonna happen. Right, so for some reason Emacs is super slow. Maybe I should just use Vim for this one. I don't know why this is so slow for me. It's just like so weird. It's just like lagging. Is that because of the Emacs? Like I mean specifically Emacs, or is that because I'm streaming? Like I don't know, but I don't have these problems with Vim, so I'm gonna be using Vim. Right, this is so weird. I just don't understand. Okay. So because in Emacs some modes actually make it slower, right? So maybe like the PHP mode is just doing something weird. I don't really know. So maybe that's the case, but who knows? All right. So what I want you to do, right? So I just want you, so with Vim it's a little bit better. Right. I want you to just take the size of argv, right? Size of argv, so something like this, and just maybe exit with 69. And then I'm gonna just run this entire thing, php c.php, and it says 1 because I didn't provide any arguments, but if I provide full bar buzz, it has 4 of them, and one of them is the program, right? So if you essentially just print argv0, right, something like that. Yeah, so you'll see the program. So, and essentially the first thing we want to do, we probably want to get the program, right? So I'm going to do array shift, and what I have to provide argv, right? So, but I didn't have to provide argv with any, so I was just thinking, do I have to provide the ampersand in here? I didn't have to provide the ampersand in here. Okay, so this is a program, right? In here, how can we check that we didn't provide any file input? We have to probably check for thing like size of argv being equal to 0, right? So if it's equal to 0, that means there's no input that was provided, right? But here is an interesting thing. We want to be able to actually provide the target regardless of its position within the command line arguments, right? So as you can see, I want to be able to say target Python 3, or I want to be able to first provide the file name and then say target Python 3. How can I do that? How can I make it independent from the position within the command line arguments? That's a very interesting question, isn't it? So the way I do that is basically I postpone the check for the inputs and stuff like that. So essentially I say that, okay, the input is going to be something, but it's going to be null. Do I have null in PHP? It looks like I do because it is highlighted in here. Okay. So we say input, right? And we also specify the initial platform, right? So I'm going to say platform, and by default, let's say that the default platform is going to be Python 3, right? At least for now. This is going to be the default platform. And then I'm going to organize the command line argument parsing loop. So while size of argv is greater than 0. What I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be extracting the flag, right? So essentially array shift argv, and I'm going to be checking the flag, right? So we're probably going to do something like switch. Is the flag, for instance, something like platform or target, right? If it is target, we're going to simply set platform to whatever we have in there. So we actually need to check if there is an argument after that, right? So we need to check if there is an argument after that. So let me see. So essentially what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna check if size of argv is actually equal to 0. That means the user provided dash target but didn't provide anything after the dash target, which is completely haram in my opinion, right? So we have to throw some sort of an error, right? So we need to throw some sort of an error. So we've got some bits from Hector HSC without any message, by the way. Thank you so much for 100 bits. By the way, when you are subscribing with a message or donating bits, you can always put some sort of a message in there, maybe some sort of a question, right? And I'm gonna give it high priority while answering, right? Because every time somebody, like, you know, donates or subscribes, I can see that and I can answer something. So you can use that to ask me a question, to force me to answer your question, right? So if it's equal to 0, we have to throw some sort of an error, right? So we have to say print error, no value was provided for flag, and we can say flag. By the way, can I have like literally expressions in here? I wonder. It's actually a very interesting question, right? So if I have an array, can I just use it like that? Or maybe can I just wrap it like that? Wait a second, I can have like entire expressions interpolated within the string in PHP. What kind of god language is that? What the fuck? This is better than Python. Well, I mean, in Python you can also do this kind of stuff, but I mean, I'm just saying. This is actually pretty cool language, isn't it? So you can do a lot of shit in it. Anyway, so in here we have to say 69, right? So basically we couldn't get any parameter in here. So, and the next thing we need to do, we need to get the platform, right? So we need to take the argument, so it's going to be array. I think I saw somebody donating 100 bits. Thank you so much, Sven Supreme, for 100 bits with a message kappa. So yeah, thank you so much. That's precisely what I was talking about. Okay, so we're going to do array shift, and this is going to be argv, right? So this is going to be argv, and this is the arg. And here's the thing, right? So we need to check whether it's an actual valid platform, if you know what I mean, right? So if it's an actual valid platform. So if, let's actually do switch on the arg, right? If it's target platform, so target Python, or target fasm, does it fall through? I hope it falls through. All right, so in that specific case, what we want to do is essentially set the platform to whatever was set by the user, right? So that's one of the things we do. So another thing that I like to do with this kind of stuff is essentially have a special platform that doesn't exist, like list. And this platform is supposed to print the amount of available platforms. So this is kind of like what I like to do for my languages, right? So you can provide the target and say list target, and it will basically print all of the available targets, and then you can pick one. It's actually kind of convenient. I think I steal that idea from some existing project, but unfortunately I don't remember. But that's 100% not my idea, right? So essentially, what you can always do, you can say c.php, okay, target, but I don't know what kind of targets we have in here. Okay, list, and that will basically stop and just print all of the targets, and then you can pick one of them, like Python 3 or something like that, right? Which is actually very convenient from the like UX point of view, if you know what I mean. Okay, so we've got some sub from yes0401 with a message Tsodin apoging. I'm also apoging right now. Thank you so much for Twitch Prime subscriptions. That's one of my hobbies. One of my hobbies is dabbing and pogging. That's what I like to do in my spare time, like dabbing and pogging. Anyway, so it would be kind of nice if we had all of the available platforms. He's literally me for real. I'm really glad that that being a middle-aged dude on the internet, I'm still relatable to Zoomers. That's pretty cool. That's actually kind of sad if you think about it. So Right. So we've got even more bits. So thank you so much, Bob's Ware, for 100 bits with a message. I wish to see you doing something with Swift language. Trust me, I wish the same too. So the last time I tried to run Swift on my machine, it was basically suggesting me, dude, you have such a weird platform, just run it in a Docker. And I was like, what? Like, what? It's like, you guys know what is a compiler. I keep saying that. You guys know what is a compiler. It's a goddamn program that accepts a stream of bytes and translates it to another stream of bytes. You're coming to me and suggesting that running that on my machine is such an unsolved computer science problem that I have to use a freaking Docker just to convert one sequence of bytes to another sequence of bytes. It's just like, no. Just no. I'd rather implement C and PHP that run a compiler in a freaking Docker. That is less insane, in my opinion. But yeah, thank you. Maybe one day when somebody donates me a MacBook Pro, the latest version, the most expensive one, the most powerful one, then I will consider maybe doing a Swift stream. We'll see. Do Apple products still work in Russia? I don't know. I think they kind of do. I don't know. Because I'm pretty sure like maybe Apple actually shut down all the services in Russia, so it's pointless to have anything Apple. So so we've got more subs from First Rage. Thank you so much for tier 1 subscription. Oh, I missed the function. So yeah, because you actually put identical message, I literally missed it. Right, so thank you so much for 100 bits with the message. I wish to see you doing something with Cabal language. Didn't I already do Cabal stream? I don't know. I'll consider that. I'll consider that. First Rage, thank you so much for tier 1 subscription, and Jiang, thank you so much for 46 months of tier 2 subscription. My God, thank you so much. With the message, I wish to see you doing something in Objective-C cap. Well, that already sounds like something doable because there are no non-Apple compilers for Objective-C. So as far as I know, GCC had Objective-C compiler, so I may consider that actually. I may consider that. When you did your last Cabal stream, most people here in the chat weren't even born, Cap. I mean, I'm not that old. Come on. So thank you so much for tier 1 subscription, Kissel Ball. I hope I pronounced your nickname correctly. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And welcome to our epic PHP club. How about that? How about that? How about that? Alrighty. So what I want you to have, so essentially what I need to do is basically put all of that shite into, I guess, like a list, otherwise I won't be able to print that. It's too much effort. I don't think I want to actually do all of that stuff. So essentially, but I actually kind of have to do that. Right, so essentially I want to have a single centralized place, right? So like a single centralized place where I could just add a new platform and I don't have to modify it in too many places. Right, so if I create all of the platforms like so, by doing something like that, Python 3 target fasm, I automatically have to update two places if I want to add another platform. So I have to add it in here, right, and then I have to add it in here, so which is not convenient. But I want to have the platforms as an array, because then with the list, I will be able to do something like for each. And how do you even use for each? I don't remember. Yeah, this is how we do that. You say basically platforms as so I could probably use platform, but it's already taken, so let's call it P. right, and then here we can say something like p, and we'll also have to put like a new line in here, right? So having all the available platforms as an array is rather convenient because I will be able to do something like this, right? So we'll be able to do something like this, and of course in here we have to throw an error saying something like error unknown platform. It's not really platform, target. I should call them targets. They're not really platforms, they're targets. Or you can call them target platforms, right? So we can call them target platforms. Right, so unknown target arg, right, with a new line, and then we can say okay, exit with a 6969. But this is very inconvenient, if you know what I mean, because, right, so I already have 3 places where I have to add a new platform. Right, so the first one is in here, the second one is in here, and the third one is in here. This is insane for maintainability. Some people think that, oh, the global variables are detrimental for your maintainability. No, this is bullshit. Global variables are good because they make the communication of different parts of the application easier. This is the real problem for maintainability, right? So just to add a new platform, you have to modify in 3 different places, and you can easily forget to modify one of the places. Global variables are nothing compared to this kind of shit. They're nothing. Right. I mean, they become problem only in multi-threaded environment, but we're talking about PHP. What kind of multi-threading you're talking about? Excuse me. This is PHP. It's the way PHP is used is literally they start an interpreter for each and individual query, and then once the query is done, once the query is handled, the PHP interpreter dies. So all of the global variables within the script are basically local variables, if you know what I mean. Because they don't even live for that long. To be fair, I don't know how PHP is used these days. Maybe these days it is like there are like a long-running PHP scripts or something like that. I don't know, but back in my days, PHP was just like surf and die. Freaking surf and die. Just like in my country. You get born, you serve, and you die. Okay, we've got some beats. Azura Kimori, thank you so much for 100 bits with a message. If you could magically replace C as a standard language, what language would you prefer? Or is there a type of lang you think would be better? Would be better than C. I don't know, anything with a stronger typing, I suppose, right? Maybe. So I feel like maybe if we will try to replace C, we end up with just another C. Right. So one thing we can do, we can just improve the typing, just make it stronger, because one of the biggest problem of C is that the typing is a little bit weak, right? It's easy to make like these mistakes when the types accidentally converted and stuff like that. So I don't know, I didn't really think about that. Not really particularly good answer, but yeah. Thank you so much, Dread Pirate Roberts, for community gifted subs. For community gifted sub. So for now, it's just like I basically voiced the main concern with C is just like the strongness of the typing system, right? So that's one of the things that bothers me the most with C. There are multiple things, but it's like the most thing that bothers me with C. Okay, so after we're done listing these things, of course, we probably want to exit with a 6969, right? So essentially, how can we simplify this entire thing? We can try to maybe get rid of one of the place, right? We can try to get rid of one of the place, and that place could be actually this thing. Believe it or not, we can just do something like if arg equal list, right? Just do this thing and die. Just do this thing and die, right? And in here, we can just check if arg is in the platforms. And if it is in platforms, we can set the current platform to the arg. right? And basically like continue, but maybe we don't have to continue. We can move the error handling of unknown thing to else. That way we kind of get rid of this entire switch case, and essentially this particular place doesn't really care about how many platforms we have in here, so we can just add them to the list, and that's it, basically. Right, so now we have two places in which we have to add you know, all of the platforms, which is obviously better in my humble opinion. Right, this is definitely better, but the question is, how do you check that a particular variable is within array? I don't really know. I literally hallucinated this entire syntax just like LLM. That's right. Right, I have no idea how you check if a particular thing is within array, so I have to Google that up. So, but since I didn't want to interrupt my trail of thoughts, right? I didn't want to interrupt my trail of thought. I basically confabulated the thing so I can continue thinking about like the rest of this stuff. And then I can go back to confabulated thing and just maybe resolve it. So that's how my brain works. Right, essentially. So, all right, PHP check check if array contains element or something like that. Check if array contains element. In array. Okay, so there is a function called in array. Checks whether the value already exists within an array. Needle. So I just have to provide needle and haystack. So if in array, right? So in array, it doesn't autocomplete, but I can just provide this thing like this. Right, if it is within an array, we just set this entire thing, otherwise we say that this is unknown target, and that should be it. Okay, so we have only two places where we have to add a new platform if we ever gonna add a new platform. Can we simplify this stuff even further? Can we simplify this stuff even further? So the reason why I want to have this thing is because then later down there, after I done handling everything, right, so somewhere down there, I can do something like, this is not really needed anymore, but I mean, let's actually keep it. So switch platform, and then I can say something like case target, target Python, fasm, there we go, and like this. And I want you to have this constant so I don't accidentally mistype something, right? So if I'm going to get rid of these constants, I'll have to provide things like this, which might be actually a problem if I made some sort of a typo in here. But what we can do, basically, we can actually put some sort of an assertion here saying that this is going to be unreachable, and every time we add a new platform and we test a new platform, we're gonna hit an unreachable in here, and we're gonna know that we need to add a new case in here. So I think getting rid of these constants actually beneficial, right? So I can now say, okay, Python 3. So these constants are not particularly needed, right? I think they only add more complexity, right? So there we go. So now we have only a single place where we have to add a new platform if we ever going to add one, right? So one of the things we can maybe add in the future is maybe, I don't know, ARM, but I mean, fasm doesn't support ARM, but it doesn't really matter. So something like ARM. So we have to modify only this place. Then we're gonna have to modify this particular specific place. And in the future, in that switch case down below, when we're going to do different generations, we're going to have an unreachable case, which will remind us at runtime that we have to add something. So we have a single place, single centralized place where we can add all of the platforms. Does all that make sense? I think it does make sense, right? So sometimes people don't understand why I'm like, you know, rat-holing about like, you know, these unimportant things, right? But this is because like I'm thinking in the future, what if I'm gonna add more and more and more, right? So I'm thinking about like a UX of the code, if that makes any sense, right? Not that many people actually think about it too much, right? In the sense that, so what's going to be the experience of adding a new platform? What's going to be the experience of adding a new platform? Right. So it should be as easy as just adding a new string in here, right? So, okay, we don't really need this code in here. It was just an experimental code, doesn't really matter. So we're going to do that. So we basically set the target, right? So, and then if, so we basically handled one of the flags. We handled the target flag. And if we encounter an unknown flag, we can basically set this flag. So it doesn't really like the default. Why does it autocomplete default in such a weird way? I wonder. But then in any case, we can basically set this specific flag as the input. We just set this flag as an input. So, and essentially that way we can handle input of the compiler and the target flag independently of its order, right? So essentially, if the target flag is gonna come first, we just first gonna handle the target flag, and then we're gonna handle the input, and vice versa, right? So, and how we're gonna check that the input was not provided, right? So we initially set input to null, which means that if after this entire loop the input is null, right? So input is equal to null. Right, I'm not sure if that's the idiomatic way of checking if something is null in PHP, but I don't know this language and I don't care. Right, so if it's equal to null, that means the input was not provided, and this is where we're gonna actually, you know, fail in here. Right, so here we have a file path, and we can set the file path to like input, right? So and continue as usual. There we go. So we implemented parsing of the flags in PHP, and I haven't run this code a single time, so I have no idea if it works or not. Just like a LLM, right? Because LLM just generates code without even knowing if this fucking thing even works, right? It just generates something, right? It's your responsibility, you know, to run it and make sure that it runs. It's not the responsibility of LLM. It has more things to do. It needs to handle the requests of other users. It get no time to actually check your code. Check the code yourself. I mean, come on. So we've got... so let's actually see if this entire shit works, because I have no idea. Right, so I'm going to try to run it. And it fails with a syntax error. It literally fails with a syntax error. And just like when we're working with the ChatGPT, we're going to take that error and we're just going to go through and try to troubleshoot that, right? So what the fuck is going on in here? Apparently, I forgot to put parentheses in here. Sure, I think so. Let's continue. What's going to be the next error? Okay, so it doesn't know what is a target Python. It's on the line 323, which is understandable. So we're going to say that, you know, I have an idea. We can actually do something like platforms.0. How about that? So, and it's basically going to use the first element in here as the default one. That's pretty cool, I think. And it doesn't complain, but now we have to provide the input. So we're going to provide hello.c, and it seems to be working. So I can now try to provide a different target. Let's actually provide just target, and it will fail. No value was provided for the flag target. We're going to provide something like this, and unknown target right. So everything seems to be working. If we provide list, as you can see, it lists all of the available targets. It doesn't really tell you that these are available targets. So maybe this is something that we have to say in here. Right. Available targets, right? So this is gonna be a new line, and I kind of want to actually indent it with double spaces. There we go. So here are available targets. So now we can say, okay, use fasm x86-64, and it still outputs Python because we don't handle that specific platform. So we need to do something about that, right? Anyways. So there is a code that generates Python code. So here, what we're doing, we're essentially reading the input file, right? We're just reading the input file, then we lexing it, then we parsing it, right? And then here, we are generating Python code. We're literally generating Python code. So, and we only have to do that if the current platform is equal to Python 3. Right, if it's equal to something else, we have to do that completely differently. Right, so, and that's essentially what we have to do. So I'm going to do switch, and in here we're going to have platform, that's the platform. And in here we're only going to do that if it's Python 3. Right, so I'm going to put that stuff in here. So this one is going to break. So my computer is still slowing down. Okay, so, and in here we're gonna have a case of fasm x86 64 Linux, not literal Linux. Oh my god. And in here we're gonna say, okay, to do not implemented, right? To do not implemented. And in here we're gonna have default, which is, in this specific case, is going to be unreachable, right? So this one, well, I mean, here I probably have to do something like false, right? So that's how assert works. Assert false unreachable, right? So in here, I'll have to close this entire thing, and let's try to run this entire stuff, and it's actually fine. I have no idea why, right? Why is it fine? Maybe because the switch case doesn't really work on this entire stuff. So I would expect this thing to, maybe, let's actually do die. Oh, wait a second. We had a to do. Let's actually replace it with to do. I remember that. Yo. So this is going to be to do. I'm going to put it like this. To do. Yep. So this one is unreachable. Yes. That's what I'm talking about. So at the line 4, this is the wrong line. The stack traces in PHP are insane. There we go. So as you can see, this thing is unimplemented. Okay, so we've got more subs. Thank you so much, Lambda File, for Twitch Prime subscription. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Apparently you really love Lambdas. Lambda ass. All right, so what we need to do, we just need to implement this thing. How about that? Right. So, but before we go and implement this entire thing, I want to make a small break because I need to refill my cup of tea. So, yeah, let's make a small break and... Man, like, I'm looking at my webcam and it's lagging. Like, what the fuck? I don't remember Twitch being this bad. Like, what the fuck? It's just like, what is it doing? Is that the network latency? I'm pretty sure this is the network latency. Right, so steeping tea. We're gonna be doing that for 4 minutes. Does anyone have any questions while we are steeping the tea? So, okay, I don't have the mouse wheel, unfortunately. Is PHP your new passion? Yes, of course. That's the best language I've ever programmed in. So my PC specs. I can tell you my PC specs. Especially like how slow it is. Like look at that. Yeah, that's my PC specs. First question, you have to choose one language to write code for the whole life. What would be? Doesn't matter. Because you know what the first thing I'm gonna do with that language, with any language? I'm gonna implement a normal language using that language. So it doesn't fucking matter. I literally don't give a shit. So you're gonna give me PHP, I'm gonna implement C in it. So, and I'm gonna just continue programming in C. And then maybe I'm gonna implement Java. It's just like I have all of the languages with me all the time because I can just implement them. Like, you can't lock me in a single language. You can't do that. I'm too powerful. Just give me anything Turing complete and I'm gonna possess a threat to humanity, yes. You can't lock me up. But what if you have to use Swift another... God damn it! Swift! My only weakness. Okay, so I won't be able to do anything with Swift. I'm sorry. Right, so... God damn it, you got me. I can't use Swift. So yeah, okay. Any language except Swift. Any language except Swift. So... I'm even more impressed the OLFC wasm demos run as fast as your machine as them do. This is not impressive. This is fucking embarrassing because I literally did 0 optimizations to them. Freaking 0. I implemented them in a very dumb, slow way, expecting them to run at 1 FPS. This is not impressive. This is embarrassing for the whole industry, including myself. Because I know precisely how such slow code as Twitch website is being written. Because I worked in a system like that. I worked under such management. I know precisely that the engineers on Twitch don't want to write this stuff. They simply have no choice, right? So because the tight deadlines already exist in infrastructure, you basically can't do anything but just pile more and more slow code on top of this entire stuff. So... yeah, this is not impressive. This is just embarrassing for all of us. Anyway, so let me grab my team. Grabbing team. 1 minute. And if you think that AI is going to somehow solve all of that, it's not going to do that, because what AI enables you is basically piling the code on top of existing systems even faster. So if anything, the whole infrastructure is gonna degrade at a faster rate. So, but I'm actually really curious where it's all heading. I'm really curious. Looks like Sodium worked in Salesforce. I didn't work at Salesforce, but I worked in 4 big US corporations. And I kind of know how it is going. It's kind of sad. It is kind of sad. Because when it comes to these corporations, that they just have shit ton of money, and they just like, instead of solving problems, they just like throw more and more money into the problem without actually solving it. And it's just like, I don't know. Okay, guys, so I'm still using Emacs, so maybe I need to switch to c.php, to Vim. That's what I wanted to say. Right. All right, so let's write "Hello World" in assembly. I haven't said something like that for quite some time already. But so what I need to do, I need to use fasm, right? So I don't really remember how to program with fasm. So I probably can steal some code from Porth, if you know what I mean. We can probably steal some code from Porth. So I'm gonna open hello.asm, right? So, and I wonder, yeah, so it does highlight everything. So I'm gonna split the screen and I'm gonna go to Porth, right? So Porth is my programming language that I've written a long time ago, right? So, and it basically compiles itself to fasm, right? So, and we can find its fasm version somewhere here. So I can basically find, you know, the boilerplate that I have to put into my program. So first of all, I have to declare that I'm compiling the ELF64-bit executable, right? ELF64-bit executable. So we got some questions, so I probably want to answer them first. Ajura Kimori, thank you so much for 100 bits with a message. You were playing with the Turing machine language. Just curious if you've ever looked into lambda calculus. Could also be an interesting model to make a lang out of, especially after knock. I've been programming, not programming. I've been into computer science for 17 years. For 17 years. You think I never heard of lambda calculus and I never played with lambda calculus? Really? Okay. Let me show you something. So it was actually a long time ago. I'm not sure if any of that still works. That's the problem. I'm really not sure if any of that still works. But maybe this is going to be one of my projects in the future where I'm going to actually write that in a normal language. So some time ago, very long time ago, I implemented a programming language called Morganey. Right, so it's a lambda calculus-based interpreted programming language that recognizes charge encoded structures. It was a very long time ago, so let's actually see how long time ago it was. 2017. Right, and the README doesn't really do a good job at explaining what this thing is all about, but essentially this is pure untyped lambda calculus, literally pure untyped lambda calculus. So you don't have even numbers in them, right? You don't even have any numbers there. So the idea is that the interpreter looks at your lambda expression that you're evaluating and actually recognizes charge encoded structures like charge numerals, right, and also charge pairs and charge lists, and actually renders them when you try to print them as, you know, as lists or numbers or anything like that. But language itself doesn't support any of those things. It's a pure untyped lambda calculus. So that's what's cool about it. So I think somebody even tried to prove that it's Turing complete by implementing a Turing machine in it. So there was a standard library somewhere. Yeah, I don't quite remember. There was some examples, but I don't remember. Yeah. So in any case, so that's basically the thing. So maybe at some point I'm gonna actually get back to this project and maybe revive it. 6 years ago, and I'm pretty sure, like, oh my god, so look at the amount of commits in here. It's like almost 1,000 of commits. Yeah, so I've done a lot of stuff. I've tried a lot of things. So yeah, I'm gonna put that in the description for anyone who's maybe interested on YouTube, right? So because I do plan to upload all of that stuff to YouTube. Where is my description? Okay, so Morganey programming language, right? So there we go. Hope that answers the question. So T Clipper, thank you so much for tier 1 subscription. Thank you. 2017 is 6 years ago, indeed. 6 years ago. Why the choice of Scala for a lambda calculus interpreter? Because it was a hot new thing 7 years ago. So it's back, like, it's around that time when Twitter also decided to switch to to switch to Scala. Right. So Scala was hot. It's just like, it was so trendy, just like Rust today. It's just, nobody really remembers that, but Scala was like insanely popular. It was just like the new thing, like holy fuck, everyone should write in Scala. It's insane. It's like, it shows you that there is no difference between OOP and FP. FP is OOP and OOP is FP. Holy fucking shit. Oh my god, let's rewrite everything in it. And yeah. And then came Kotlin and just killed that. So because nobody really cared about this academic circle jerk. Everyone just wanted a better Java, and Scala was just kind of in a position when it was kind of better than Java, right? But then the Kotlin came in without all of that, you know, intellectual masturbation, and it was even better. So everyone switched to Kotlin. So that's how it was 6 years ago. I'm so old, I remember that shit. So anyway, hope that is interesting, I don't know. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to declare that we're building ELF64 executable, right? So then ELF64 executables, they're split into these segments, right? They're split into these segments, so we have to specify that the code is going to be in a readable executable segment. Right, so you can read and execute that specific segment. So, and as far as I can remember, there was like a entry point somewhere. I think it's start. Was it start? I don't quite remember. Where is the entry point? So there's a lot of data in here, as you can see. Right, so all of that is literally data, right? So let me just like find, okay, but I don't quite remember. So this is the syscall. So this is the exit syscall, I do remember that. So I'm going to actually put it in here. So this is the exit syscall. So the way syscalls work in Linux is that you put the number of the syscall into regs and you put the parameters into the rest of the registers. So we're gonna Google up the table of the syscalls, right? And here basically I say that I'm gonna exit with 0 exit code, and I call this syscall. And it's actually very important to call exit syscall at the end of your program, because essentially that tells the Linux kernel that the program wants to exit. Because if you don't do that, the program continue executing, right? It will just continue executing. And since after the syscall, after the end of the program, you have garbage or maybe some unmapped pages, you're probably gonna have segfault or something like that, right? You can try to do something like return, but since this is an entry point, there is no place to return. There is nowhere to go. Right, when your program finished executing, right, so how does it know how to exit, how to halt, right? So you don't have a return address on your stack, there's nothing after the end of the program, there's only garbage, so there's no way to go. It's only either crash into that garbage and get killed by the operating system and yelled at with a segfault, or you can just tell the operating system, I'm done executing, please exit me. Right, so basically this way you tell an operating system, please unload me from memory, right? Because I don't know what else to do. Like I have nothing else to do. Otherwise I'm gonna crash into the memory that I'm not supposed to execute, right? Please exit me. So that's basically what it means. We can actually, like I do that all the time when we program assembly, we can try to run this program without exit and see how it will react, because I think it's very educational. People are so afraid of writing incorrect code because it's incorrect, you're not supposed to write that, but in reality it is extremely educational, right? So if somebody tells you that a particular thing is incorrect, do you even know why? One way to know why it is incorrect is fucking try that. Well, I mean, of course, it doesn't work with everything. It's kind of dangerous when we're talking about chemistry, right? Right, but in programming we can do that, right? In programming we can afford to just try shit and see if it works or not. It might be dangerous in other areas of human activity, right? So, but in programming we can afford that, at least. Who knows? We kind of like with AI, we're kind of approaching that point when we cannot, but we'll see how it works out. Anyway, so the thing is, I don't remember where is the entry point? I don't freaking remember. Where is the entry? Oh yeah, so okay. Apparently there is this sort of a special directive called entry start. Right, and basically it specifies where you start your program, right? So this is where you start. Okay, so if I remember correctly, the exit, the write syscalls. Okay, so let's actually Google it up. Linux x86-64 syscall table. Right, so let's actually find all of the syscalls. In some banking trading industry, it's also very advised to do it right first time. Yeah, understandable. Actually understandable. Okay, so remember this particular website was a bit leaky in terms of IP addresses. Yeah, I was right. Okay. That doesn't really leak my address that badly. I remember there was some Chromium page, Chromium OS, that had all of the necessary tables that I want. Yeah, Linux system, because Chromium OS is Linux, right? So it also works out for us too. So that's the page I like to use. If you don't get it perfect from the start, you are a failure. That's a very dangerous mindset. But I mean, you put kappa at the end of the message, so it means you're joking. Right. But generally, and ironically, that's a very dangerous mindset, in my opinion. Right. Chromium OS is just a quirky Gentoo, but it's a Gentoo nonetheless, which means it's a Linux, right? And that's what we need right now. I'm gonna switch to description, right? So I'm gonna put this thing in here, right? Syscall table that we use, right? So I'm gonna put it like this. So fasm, there we go. And let me see. So write syscall. So the only syscall we'll need for now is going to be write. Right. So let me actually find where we do move rex1. Yeah, there we go. So I suppose maybe I don't even need this code anymore, right? Because I can already just like move on as usual. Okay, so let's actually see how you even execute this entire thing. So you have 3 arguments in a write syscall. It's a file descriptor, the pointer at the beginning of the buffer that you want to write to a specific file descriptor, and the size of that buffer. Right, so the thing, the file descriptor goes into RDI, so this is going to be standard output. And if I remember correctly, standard output is it 1? I think it is 1, right? So it is in fact 1. All right, so then the next thing is going to be buffer, so I need to do move RSI, and I have to do hello, but I have to provide the data somewhere, right? So I have to provide the data somewhere, and the question is, where do we provide the data? So let's actually go back to this thing, and we have a lot of data in here, right? There we go. So, but the question is str0. str, is it 1? Yeah, I think it is 1. So we have to put that in a readable, writable segment. So yeah, this is where we put all of that. Right, and hello thing, maybe it is something like that. I don't remember, but yeah. Hello world, right. Then we have to specify the length of this thing. So as far as I know, in all of these assemblies, there's a special way to get the current address, right? So here's the label, and to get the current address, you have to put a $. So $, is the current address. Then what we can do, we can subtract address of hello, and address of hello is where this entire thing starts. So essentially, right, we take address that is after the string, and we're subtracting the address that is the beginning of the string. That way, this expression is going to be evaluated into the size of the string, right, if I understand correctly. So, but to allocate this thing as, bytes, you have to prefix it with the db directive, if I remember correctly, right? And to make this sort of like compile time expression, right, so we have to put E.QE, if I remember correctly, like it's like a special magical things that you have to put in there. And that way you can actually put hello into RSI, which is going to be the pointer to the beginning of the buffer that you want to output, and then into RDX, you have to put the size of the buffer that you want to output. So this is going to be hello len. Right, so essentially here is the syscall, and here are the arguments of the syscall, and then you just perform the syscall. And that should be it, if I understand correctly. So that's the entire program. Right, so that's how you write hello world in assembly for fasm specifically. Right, so for fasm specifically. Sounds reasonable? Sounds something impossible? Right, so because people think about assembly as like the language that nobody ever can program in, right? Because it's so complicated and so difficult, but here it is, all of that makes sense, right? So the CPU has registers, right? So you put parameters into the registers, and then you jump to operating system, and operating system will look at the values of those registers. It will see that it has 1 at rex, and will think, okay, so the user program wants to execute the write syscall. It wants to write something into the standard output. So it will look at these arguments. Oh, it wants to write a standard output. It wants to write this hello of this specific size, and it will just do that. It will just do that. It's as simple as that. Right, so you have a couple of segments, but this is like specifics of the ELF format, right? So in this segment, we store the actual instructions. In this segment, we store the data that the instructions can use. And that's pretty much it. So the only maybe gatekeeping factor in this entire thing is the boilerplate. But that is actually easily solved by ChatGPT, right? So you can literally ask ChatGPT, give me hello world in fasm. In fact, I think we can even try to do that. So recently I found awesome free ChatGPT. Don't tell OpenAI, please. The current working theory is that I'm banned from OpenAI and I don't have an access to ChatGPT. I can never have an access to ChatGPT. So this is going to be our little secret. Don't tell OpenAI, okay? So it's going to be our little secret. So there's this website, and if you scroll down, you can find a lot of interesting things. This is not ChatGPT. This, you can clearly see it doesn't say it's a ChatGPT. It's some Chinese website that sends my data to CCP. This is not ChatGPT. Right, so what you can do, you can imagine that this is ChatGPT, just imagine, and you can say, hello world in fasm x86-64. There you go. And it will literally give you pretty much the same program. ChatCCP. Right. So it's pretty straightforward. Like, again, the only gatekeeping factor in here is the boilerplate, but you can get the boilerplate from ChatGPT. Right? This is not ChatGPT. I don't have an access. Like, OpenAI is completely banned in Russia. Like, I don't have any access, and there is no way for me to get an access to that. So yeah. So we're just hallucinating. That never happened. That never fucking happened. So I really like ChatCCP. ChatCCP. Woo! Anyway. Yeah, soon we're gonna have ChatKGB. Oh, by the way, so I think Yandex said that they're gonna develop their ChatGPT version by the end of the 2023. They already kind of developed their own language model, right? So, but it's actually rather small compared to even GPT-3. It's rather small because it has like 100 trillion parameters, I think. Or maybe billion parameters. What is it? Yeah, 100 billion parameters. So, which is, I mean, GPT-3 is 175, right? So it's like almost twice as small. Did you see Llama CCP? Yeah, I've seen it. So yeah, anyway, soon we're gonna have a ChatKGB as well, so don't worry about it. So, right now, I'm sending my private data to CCP. Right, but soon, by the end of 2023, I'm going to be sending my private data to KGB. So, anyways, so let's try to build this entire thing and see how it goes. I wonder if I can do just fasm. Hello, fasm. So what does it say? Illegal instruction. EQ EU something something something. So it doesn't really have. Do I have to just say something like this? I already closed. What was the example? Let me actually go back. I don't know. I'm too lazy to actually go back. So let's actually Google up in here. Fasm EQ. Yeah. Or maybe length of the string. Yeah. So there was something like define versus EQ. I just need some examples. And I confabulate my shit myself. Okay. So. Oh, you simply don't put this thing in here. Okay. So, man, I don't remember. No colon, yeah, it was no colon. And then it's still a legal instruction. Okay, so I probably have to go back. So let's actually go back to ChatGPT. Oh yeah, EQ. Okay, I don't need ChatGPT. Who needs ChatGPT if you have chat? Am I right? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Who needs ChatGPT? Nobody needs ChatGPT. And undefined symbol hello len, and that's really weird. Do I have to just put this thing up there? Maybe that's what I have to. Yeah, there we go. Nobody needs this ChatCCP. All right, so let's go. We have an executable, and as already mentioned, we don't call exit. We deliberately don't call exit, right? So, and let's see what's gonna happen. That actually went more violent than I expected. Yeah. Holy fuck. I think, yeah, something went definitely wrong. Right, I think maybe the size of this entire thing is incorrect. But at the end of this entire stuff, it's still segfaulted, right? Which is kind of my point, right? So, which is in fact kind of my point. So, what you want to do, so it doesn't segfault, right? You want to actually do exit, right? And I'm pretty sure it's still gonna print the garbage. Yeah. So it still printed the garbage, but it didn't segfault, which was already pretty cool, isn't it? I think it is. So the question is, what the fuck has happened? Right. So why this was not enough? Right. So is that not RDX? So this is the count. This is the buffer. Null terminator. This is not C. That's the thing. This is not C. It doesn't need a null terminator. Right. So what it needs is only the size of this entire thing. So I can do something like, well, we can compute how many characters we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I can literally just put 12 in here, right? So, and we can confirm that it is going to work correctly. As you can see, it works correctly. I wonder if I can just put something like 10 in here, and for 12, I can put 30. Right, do fasm, and there we go. So there's a hello world with a new line. Maybe we don't even need this kind of shit anyway. Yeah. So I don't really know how to work with these macros and stuff like that. All right. We can see how, you know, by chat, this is not ChatGPT. It is not affiliated with OpenAI or anything like that. Right, we can see how it does that. So len EQ, right. So, but that didn't really work for me, did it? Yeah. So it put it in EDX. That's a really strange thing. It kind of mixed up 32-bit registers and 64-bit registers, which is kind of fine. But I mean, I guess okay, that's fine. It's gonna work. So I think I did that, and it's still, yeah. That's literally what I did. Oh, this is because of this thing? Maybe. So let's give it a try. Hello then. So, yeah. No, it didn't work. So something is definitely weird. So the only difference here is that it uses data writable, and yeah. Health. Yeah, health. Health, I'm stuck in elf. Anyway, so I didn't think we really need that too much, because we're going to be generating the code ourselves, right? So we're going to be generating the code ourselves. That's kind of the point. Right, so that means we'll be able to compute this number at compile time, right? The double quote, maybe that's a double quote. Let me see. I'm not sure if that makes any difference. Hello len EQ minus hello fasm. I actually didn't want to do that simultaneously. It didn't do anything. Wrong line. I don't understand. Why don't you append 0 at the end? Is there a special reason? Because it doesn't matter. Right, so RDI, RSI, okay, so this one is, yeah, hello len. Yeah. So let's actually try to put 0. And as you can see, it doesn't matter. As already said, it doesn't matter. And why doesn't it matter? Because right accept the size of the string. It accepts the size of the string. So that means it literally doesn't care if there's 0 or not. This is not C. Again, null terminator is kind of a C thing, which kind of leaked into what is it called? Operating systems as well, right? So some of the syscalls kind of expect null terminated one, but write doesn't require null terminated because it accepts the size, right? So again, this is self-evident. Why accept the size of the string and require null termination? The null termination is needed specifically to know the end of the string. So if you have null terminator, you don't need size. If you have size, you don't need a null terminator. Make sense? So it doesn't really matter that much. Doesn't really matter that much because we're gonna generate that anyway. So let's go ahead and do that, right? Let's go ahead and do that. So let me see. I'm gonna go to c.php, right? I'm gonna go to c.php, and here we are parsing this entire thing. So there's a lot of code in here that just generates Python. So what I'm thinking is that maybe we should move all of that code. We should move all of that code into a separate sort of function. Let's call it generate Python 3, right? Generate Python 3, and in here what we're gonna accept is probably a function, right? So the main function. So how do we call that thing? We just call it func. Okay, so that means we have to put it like this. So this is func. So Python 3. I'm gonna go to here and I'm gonna just like take this entire stuff, generate Python 3, and we're gonna put this stuff in here. So there's that and there's that. So I'm not sure if this is going to work, but we can actually easily find out. We can literally just like run this entire stuff. So here we can also move all of this stuff into a separate function that parses the command line arguments, right? So we can also do that. Let me see. Generate Python 3 func. There we go. So, and that actually makes it possible to just like create function generate fasm x86 for Linux. Yeah. So the first thing I want to do is essentially c.php, right? And I'm going to provide hello.c, and as you can see, it still works even though I moved everything to a different place. It still, in fact, works. So generate fasm x86 for Linux, and we're going to provide the func. We're going to provide the func generate Python. Generate Python function, generate fasm x86 this is func, and there we go. So essentially how we do all of that. So we iterate all of the statements, you know, of the body of the function, right? So let's actually replicate that. Generate. So we are iterating this entire thing, and in here maybe we can do print r. I suppose it will actually print the statement itself. So let's actually see if it's going to work. So I'm going to do that. So this is Python, and then I'm going to say target. What kind of targets do we have? We have a fasm x86 for Linux, and I'm going to do bum. And what we got? We got all of these things. So we've first got the function call, right? So we got the function call and another function call. We actually have 3 function calls and then return statement. Right, the cool thing is that for the return statement, we can literally just call exit syscall, right? So that's actually kind of cool. It makes it super easy for that specific case. So, and if we go to here, so we have if statement is instance of function call, we can have a similar thing. Statement is instance of return statement. So let's actually see how we can do that. Right, so stmt is instance of, where is, or is just instance of, yeah, ret statement. There we go. So this is what we're gonna have in here. So, and for the statement, let's actually generate all of that stuff. So I'm gonna actually split this entire thing. I just realized that we've got another sub from Militap. I'm sorry for waiting for 17 minutes. Thank you so much for tier 1 subscription with the message. It's no a joke. We are a PHP lovers. Yes, we are PHP lovers indeed. This is a PHP fan club. That's what it is. All right. So what we're gonna do in here, right? So as I already said, for return, we're going to simply call the exit call, right? At least my chat crashed again. Why does it crash every time? So this is so bad. Well, I mean, it's probably on something wrong with Chromium, but I just don't know why. Why does it crash? Memory read saga. Could be. So can a particular application in Chromium crash if it just allocates too much memory? Right. I think it should be able to. Right. So I don't really know how it works. I'm not a web developer. Yeah, it can crash. The limit is 2 GB. I see. Oh, Chromium can show that. Because I'm not sure if that's the fault of Twitch application or of Chromium, right? Maybe it's a Chromium bug. It's kind of difficult to tell. So, but I suppose if it, you know, consumes too much memory, the Chromium can actually kill it. All right. Can we ship you more RAM? You can try, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's gonna work out that well. So what I want you to do, I want you to open Hello Asm, right? And in Hello Asm, we just want to generate this thing, right? So let's go ahead and generate it. I'm going to put this like that. You know what? Can I just replace and with this thing? Yeah, so that makes it super easy to do something like this, and then I can do print like so, and maybe somewhere at the end in here I can say /n, yeah, like so. I freaking replaced this entire thing. No Vim magic today, no Vim magic, unfortunately. So this is what we're gonna have, but here's an interesting thing, is that here we have an exit code, and we can set the exit code to whatever we return from this entire stuff, right? So if we take a look at the class return statement, we have an expression, right? An expression, well, it's supposed to be a number right now. So how do we set an expression? New return statement. So we literally take a value, right? So we literally take a value. I suppose we can just do statement value. Is that a correct thing to do in here? Is that how it works? I think that's how it works. Right. So, and essentially, let's actually try to run this entire thing like that, and undefined property value. Right. So there's no value in the return, which is kind of weird. 354. So this is a return statement. Do I even do that correctly? Do I even do that correctly? Because if I do something like that, this is not how it works. Right, but if I replace this thing with just something like that, right, so let me double check the return statement. It's an expression. Oh my god, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry, it was an expression. There we go, so we have a 0. So if we take a look at hello.c, we can put a 69 in here. Right, we can put a 69 in here, and then if we run it, as you can see, it put 69 into RDI, so it put this thing correctly. Yeah, that's what we did. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? I think it's pretty freaking cool. So, but we need to also add a little bit of a boilerplate in here, right? So let me quickly do that. I'm gonna separate this entire thing, and I'm gonna go to the hello asm. So the main boilerplate is this thing, I suppose, right? So we're gonna put it in here. Yeah, let's actually insert it like that. So in this one, it's gonna be a new line, and there we go. So, and another thing is going to be this stuff, right? So can I just do end and replace that with this? Maybe even like this. Yo, look at that shit, bruv. Boom. Can your Emacs do that? I don't fucking think so. Your Emacs is shit. Emacs is fucking slow. It's unbearable. It's impossible to use. Imagine using an operating system instead of a freaking text editor. Anyway. So, let me see. So I probably want to also maybe indent this thing a little bit so we can clearly see. Look at that, we're already generating assembly from C using PHP. It's fucking cool. I think it's pretty fucking awesome. So it's kind of difficult to generate like all of the use cases. We have too many use cases in C specifically, right? So I used to have just a string, but then Strager came in and he introduced like format stuff, and now I have to support that as well. God damn it. Okay, so what I have, what kind of plan do I have? I'm going to disable all of that for now, and I'm gonna just try to compile this specific case. Right, so that's going to be the idea. We're going to try to compile this specific case. But as far as I know, this is not going to work because our thing does not support comments. Yeah, it doesn't support comments. So next token, so let me take a look at where exactly we failed. I think it's, so c.php 74. Yeah, so basically this is unsupported. I should probably actually handle that properly. You know what I mean? I shouldn't handle that properly. So here what I have to say is echo as printf. Yeah, I actually mix up different styles of string interpolation and stuff like that. So yeah, maybe I should actually start using like proper string interpolation so I can do something like lock display, right? And then I can say error unknown. Unknown token starts with, and I can even specify what it starts with because I know the first character of this thing, and then we can simply return false in here. How about that? Look at that, look at that, boom. And as you can see, something went horribly wrong. So at the line 356, I'm not really sure what exactly is wrong in here for each. Invalid argument is supplied. Oh yeah, I see. So is that because the func was not properly... Yeah, I see. Dude, what the fuck? So if func was false, it's supposed to exit with 69, but it didn't do that. What the fuck? Why it didn't do that? I'm actually really surprised. So because if I go to the parse function, right, so we can did it even say anything? Okay, unknown token starts with that. Okay, so it actually printed more stuff, right? It actually printed more stuff. Undefined variable type So 213. Undefined variable type, so there was some sort of expected that was... That is weird. What the hell is going on? Okay, unknown token starts with that. Obviously, I forgot to put this thing in here. And then I return false, which indicates basically that we couldn't get any token, right? So, and that indicates an error. So, but something went horribly wrong in here. I suppose in expect token, when we get the next token, well, yeah, expected something but got nothing. Right, so that's what I expect, so it should be correct. So somebody called expect... Yeah, I think I know what the fuck is going on. I think I know precisely what the fuck is going on. This code is basically left over from the time when expect token accepted only a single argument. It accepted only a single argument, but then we changed it to variadic. And since I never called this part, we never actually checked that it is incorrect. And you know why? Because it's a freaking dynamic language. If it was a statically compiled language, it would have been caught at compile time. Classic. Nice language, by the way. I mean, it's not something very specific to PHP. It's a dynamic language thing, right? It's more of a dynamic language thing. So all of the dynamic languages are like that. So, and essentially, right, so the way we have to do that, right, we have to, instead of types, we have to do this thing. So, and by the way, we also have to probably remove this stuff. So we have one, so that's fine. So let me put this stuff, because expect type now can accept several types, right? It can now accept several types, so you have to actually list all of them. And the way we list them is we separate them with a space or space, right? So basically expected that or that or that or that or that, right? So that's basically what we're trying to say in here, right? So let's try to run this thing. And for instance, it says unknown token starts with that, expected this, but got end of file. So you know what? I think in this specific case, so this is return false, we're getting an invalid token, right? We're effectively getting an invalid token. So in the case of getting an invalid token, I think we have to literally actually crash. Right, because we return false when we reach the end. So it sort of gets the wrong idea of what is going on. Yeah, there we go. So as you can see, unknown token starts with slash, and this is because we don't support comments for this entire thing. This is something we have to extend, and we have to extend that on the level of the Lexa. So how are we going to do all of that? So let me find this stuff. Okay, so this one is interesting. So this is where we do all of that. We already kind of handle the comments. That's what's interesting about all of that. We already kind of handle the comments. So we essentially treat hash as the comment because we don't handle preprocessor. So what we need to do, we need to add another thing in here, which is basically this thing starts with // right? So, and that should work. So how can we achieve all of that? How can we achieve all of that? That's a very interesting question. So because we cannot just use start with, right? So PHP string starts with. Is there anything that lets us check that a particular string starts with some sort of a prefix? str, wait a second. I remember we had ends with. So the reason why I added PHP 7 ends with is because PHP 7 simply doesn't have str ends with. It was introduced in PHP 8. So I had to sort of backport. So this is a polyfill. It's a PHP polyfill. That's what it is. Right, and I'm pretty sure we have a similar thing with str starts with. It was introduced in PHP 8, as you can see. Yeah, damn it. So yeah, there's nothing I can do about that. But I remember we can actually maybe Google for the implementation. PHP starts with PHP 7. Right. How do I check starts with a specified string? So like I found this implementation on Stack Overflow. I'm very old-fashioned. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry, kids. I'm very old-fashioned. I copy-paste my code from Stack Overflow, not ChatGPT. Okay. You know, because the code on Stack Overflow, it has the human soul put into it. Because the code from ChatGPT is soulless, right? So I need this human interaction. I need the code written by. Okay, so PHP sub-str. Okay, so we can just do something like sub-str. People on Stack Overflow are not human. Well, good argument. Yeah, I cannot agree with that more. So. Okay, we can use str pause, which is fine. Look at that code. Look. Like you can feel the soul. The person obviously put so much soul into this code. Like in JS, we make PHP polyfill. I wonder if that's a thing in PHP community. Do PHP people like really do polyfills and stuff like that? I wonder, actually. Yeah. The fuck is this shit? Okay. I'm gonna do PHP 7 str starts with. So we're gonna have a high stack and needle, right? So and I'm gonna simply take that stuff. So high stack and this is a needle. Yusu. So polyfill. So why Vim today? Because Vim is better than Emacs, obviously. That's why. So who uses Emacs in 2023? Holy shit. My god. Disgusting. Anyway. So what do we got? So we have starts with. So now I should be able to check for something. Though, you know what? I still need to do the slicing stuff. Right, I still need to do the slicing stuff. But I need to find the code that slices things. Sub-str, so that's how we slice things. So sub-str takes this the string where we start and how much you want to slice out of it. How much you want to slice out of it? That's a very interesting question. I wonder if sub-str accepts length as an optional parameter, so we don't have to provide the length, because I want to take the slice from a particular index up until the end. Okay, it is actually takes it as an optional parameter. I called it. Look at that. I called it. I predicted that. My internal language model actually predicted that it is very, very likely. And I got rewarded for that. With a nice, juicy gradient towards the local minimum of the cost function. Holy fuck. That feeling when you hit that local minimum of cost function, isn't that great? Love it. So yeah, brain GPT, yeah, exactly. Yes. Okay. So length is given and is positive. The string returned will contain at most length character. If length is null, the substring from offset until the end of the string will be returned. That's precisely what I wanted, chat. That's precisely what I wanted. I don't want anything else in my life. So essentially, maybe I'm gonna actually move all of that stuff inside of the function, if you know what I mean. I'm gonna move it inside, because what I want to be able to do, I want to be able to do sub str this source, these nuts. I need to create a field code. Nuts, these nuts. Sorry, I think I'm already streaming for too long. So yeah, essentially what I want to do, if this PHP 7 starts with, right, if s starts with that, or PHP 7 starts with // we want to drop the line and trim left and go for another round of this entire thing. We want to drop this entire loop when it's actually opposite. So essentially what we have to do is put a negative in here and put a break. But then we can apply a De Morgan law. Who knows, who remembers the De Morgan law? Nobody gives a shit because everyone uses ChatGPT. What the fuck is De Morgan law? So essentially, it's when you have this logical expression, right, and you negate that logical expression, what you do, you replace disjunction with conjunction and you negate each individual element of this entire thing. So that's how it works. That's basically the De Morgan law. If anyone even cares in 2023 what the fuck is the De Morgan law, that's the De Morgan law, right? So essentially, right, so I can write it like that. Maybe can I use new? Oh, I can create a new thing in here. So basically, not x and y is equal not x or not y, and the other way around, right? Not x or y is going to be equal not x and not y. So that's the De Morgan law. Does anyone still remember this entire stuff, like how you can transform this kind of things? Because I feel like in 2023 nobody gives a shit already. Rest Analyzer once told me, the world ain't gonna roll me. Told me about it and I was like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, so... Oh, so the IDEs and tools still teach people about the Morgan law. Okay, so that means the world is in good hands. So I'm actually very happy about that. So that's pretty cool. Okay, guys, so we've got that. So and essentially that means it just works, right? So now we have support for the comments. Right? So we have support for the comments. We can even check if it works correctly by essentially modifying this entire thing and commenting down the return, right? Because one return equals to one syscall. Right, so as you can see, we remove the return, we have no syscalls. So if we uncomment it back, we get the syscall. We can actually have several returns in here. Right, so as you can see, we have several syscalls. We can have something like 34 in here, right? So we can have as many returns as we want. So in case anyone doubts that we actually parse C and actually analyze this code, as you can see, we do, right? So depending on the amount of returns, we generate more or less assembly. So, isn't that cool? I ran out of freaking tea. God damn it. Anyway, so, yeah. So now we have one single syscall. So essentially what I want you to do, I want you to generate some code for printf. That's what I want you to do. So generate some code. So in here, what we're gonna do, else if stmt instance of fun call. So fun call in here. So I'm gonna put something like this to do fun call. And in here we're probably gonna do something like unreachable, right? So this is gonna be false. And well, I mean, yeah, it's better to do like die unreachable, right? So, and essentially we're gonna do a similar thing as we do with the Python backend, right? So first thing we're gonna check if it is printf, right? And if it is not a printf. If it is not a printf, we're gonna say this is an unknown function. You know, in fact, I'm gonna copy paste code, right? It's my code. I can copy. Well, I mean, it was written by Strager, so but I'm gonna steal it anyway. So he donated his code to me, so I think I have all the moral right to copy paste it. I think I'm dying, chat. I think I'm literally dying. Oh my god. This is because of PHP. I should have not programmed it in PHP. Holy fuck. Oh. Oh. Anyway. So we supposed to have different arguments, right? So essentially, yeah, so this is a format. So the count, what the hell is count? Wait, what? It's a count function. I've never seen count function before. PHP count function. Is that something custom? To be fair, when I accepted that pull request, I actually didn't read it, so... okay, counts all elements when used with an array. When used with an object, it implements the countable. Yeah, but how... That's weird. If it's less to or equal to 1... Ah, okay. I see what's going on. I think I had a brain fart. Just a little bit of a brain fart. It happens. It happens even with the best of us. So I think I'm gonna actually start from scratch in here. Right, and I think I expect effectively, right, I expect only one format string. Right, I expect only one format string. So interestingly enough, I think we need to do a little bit of an analysis of the code, right? Because we need to put that string, right? So let's actually go back to hello.c. We need to put that string into the data segment, right? We need to put it into the data segment. So, but the data segment has to be put like a little bit later, though. Yeah. So essentially, yeah, what we can do, at least for now, on every printf, excuse me, on every printf, we gonna remember that string and we're gonna append it to some array. Then after we are done generating the code, we're gonna generate the data section, right? And we're gonna generate the data for each individual remembered string that we wanna print off. That's gonna be the idea, I think. I think that's a good idea. What do you guys think? Is it a good idea? I think it's a good idea. Right. So first we generate the code. As we generate the code, we're remembering all of the strings, and then we're generating data for the strings. That's pretty cool idea. So, but I think I'm gonna do that after a small break, because I'm streaming already for 2 hours. I ran out of tea. I'm a little bit tired, so let's make a small break, and after the break we're gonna continue all that. Alright, so let's go and continue this scheisse. So let me go to c.php. Right, and in here, what do? I expect only one argument, right? So how can we even do all of that? So remember, like, you have to use count, right? So, and in here we have stmt. Let me take a look at the definition of class fun call. We have args, right? So we're gonna do args, and this is our arity. So this is our arity. Snack back to reality. And we're gonna expect a very specific arity in here. So if arity is not equal to 1, we're gonna actually be very loud about that, right? So we're gonna say something along the lines of, right, so statement, name, location, display, right? And this one is gonna be error, expected, one argument, but got, and we can't see shit in this mist. Now we can. Perfect. But got arity. There we go. And then we're gonna exit with a 69. I don't know why. It's just like I picked that specific exit code. So expected one thing in here. Also we probably want to expect a string, right? So, but I don't remember how to get a specific type of this entire stuff. So I probably need to Google up PHP get type. So yeah, chat asks what kind of assembly we're doing. We're doing x86 64 Linux fasm. That's what we're doing. That's what kind of assembly we're generating. I really like fasm. So I especially like fasm community, right? So it's sort of like this little isolated corner of the internet. They're just doing their own thing. And they're implementing everything in assembly. It's actually very fascinating. Fasm assembler. So they implement like literally everything. They have operating system implemented entirely in fasm. They also have like a web server or something like that. It's so freaking cool, and it's still active. Right. So yeah. So this is a flat assembler. And there was a board somewhere in here, but I don't quite remember where they would like communicate and stuff like that. Right. So let me find the operating system. I forgot its name. Fasm operating system. I just wanna type some goddamn text into editor field. Operating system. And it's kind of difficult to find. Right, yeah, Mini-QnA, this one. This is an operating system. This is the operating system written in assembly from scratch, entirely in assembly. This kind of thing. So 64-bit, 32-bit assembly OS, right? So there's also like Nginx style web server also written in the in assembly. So yeah, I'm gonna give the link to this entire thing in the chat, and it's active. 2023. Look at that shit. Yeah, look at that shit. It is active. It's not like something abandoned, like people really do that to this day. It's so fucking cool. It is so freaking cool. I absolutely love it. So yeah, I'm gonna give the link, and I'm also gonna put that in the description, right? So let me, description. Now that's dedication. That's dedication. By the way, maybe I should make this kind of thing like a topic of the stream, like basically look into this operating system and try to write something for this operating system, right? Because there are some applications and games in there, even 3D games. Oh, it's a movie, okay. So they're just watching pirated movie. Doom, it can run Doom. Is it Doom? It looks like Doom to me. Kind of. It's a Quake. Okay, so it's kind of like Doom. Right, it's pretty close. So it supports network. Imagine operating system written entirely in assembly and also supports network. How scary is that? But I mean, fasm is safe. It is safe. It's a safe language. It's a safe assembly. Trust me. So we got some subs from Colonel's Spud. I hope I pronounced your nickname correctly. With the message Pogger code. Lenny face. Pogger code indeed. Pogger code indeed. Okay, guys. So I want to get type, right? So and PHP-A, if I do something like echo get type hello, right? So it's gonna be hello, boom, boom. It is a string, so that means I can quite easily check that stmt. Let's actually do format stmt args 0, so that's the 0. And then if get type format is not equal to string, we can also complain about that. We can also complain about that. Expected, yeah, we can say expected string, but we have to specify the this stuff. When I provide the arguments, what do I do with them? Do I provide the values or do I provide something else? I don't quite remember. It just depends on how I construct the fun call statement. So this is arg. Okay, so we parse arg list. And when we parse arg list, what do I push there? I push literally values in there, right? So that means I don't have an access to their tokens. Unfortunately. Well, it is what it is, and it isn't what it isn't. Can't really do much about that. Expected string, but got, I suppose I need to provide the type, but I'm not sure how can I do that. So let me maybe put this thing in here. Right, so I can do it like that. And then I can say type, right? Expected string, but got something else, right? And this is where we have to do something, right? So we have to basically store those strings somewhere. So let's actually create something like strings, and this is going to be an array of strings. Right, so what I'm thinking is that we are going to perform the syscall to write. Right, we're going to perform the syscall to write. This is not real Tsoding. Real Tsoding uses Emacs, not Vim. Mods, ban this person. Permban. I am the real Tsoding. Yes, real Tsoding programs in PHP using Vim. Right. That Tsoding that uses Emacs is a fake Tsoding. Right. That Tsoding is fake. I am the real Tsoding. So we got another subs from Family Gaming. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Thank you so much for tier 1 subscription. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate the sub. Really appreciate the sub. Okay, so essentially, I need to copy paste the hello awesome. Right, so let's actually go back to c.php. So I'm going to do the following thing. So the end of the string is going to be replaced with this quote, then probably new line, quote, closing, like so, boom. So then I can do this kind of shit where I just do print, boom, can your Emacs do that? That's why I never use Emacs. And that Tsoding that uses Emacs, that's a fake Tsoding. So we got another sub. We get so many subs today for some reason. Tis Woody, thank you so much for tier 1 subscription. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's the power of Vim. I switched to Vim. Well, I mean, I was always using Vim, and everyone is just subscribing for Vim. All right. So what do we have in here? So this is a syscall, and here what we have to do, we have to refer to a string. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna actually refer to str underscore and its number. And what's gonna be the number? The number is gonna be basically count of strings. Is it gonna work? I feel like it's not gonna work. It has to be like spaced or something. This is sus, isn't it? So because if I do, because here, as you can see, but maybe it's fine. Okay, so let's just give it a try. Right. So right. So this is going to be the count strings, and here we're going to have literally strlen of the current string, of the current format string, like so. Right, and essentially after that we're gonna do array append, or maybe array add. What was that? I think it was array add or array push. I do not remember, believe it or not. Oh, it's array push. Okay, array push strings format. So that means on the next call to printf, the count is going to be 1. And that way we're sort of like incrementing this thing, right? So we're sort of incrementing this entire stuff. Okay, let's actually give it a try and see if it's going to generate anything intelligible. Nice one. Okay, that didn't do shit. I'm super happy. So that means the string interpolation is a little bit limited in what it can do. Right, it's a tiny bit limited, so that means I can't just have these kind of expressions in here, unfortunately. So we can just have something like n count strings. Is it strings? Yeah, and then m, which is strlen format. We can have those things, right? And then just like Can I do? Yeah, I think I should be able to do it like that. So is it going to work? It does in fact work. Look at it. This is the call, syscall, and as you can see it uses like 14 or something like that, and it refers to this str0. So which means that if I go to hello.c and for instance uncomment this entire thing, so we're gonna have two printfs in here. So as you can see we have two syscalls to write, and the second one refers to str1. Right. So str1. So after we generated the code, we already basically have everything to generate the data, right? So the next thing we need to do, we need to generate the data. So I'm gonna go hello awesome. So the data is basically like this, right? So that's the data. Let me switch to c.php, and we can do that after we generated the code, right? So here, right, we generated the code, and here we're going to be generating the data. Yes, so this one is going to be print. This is the new line. Oh my god. Yeah, boy. So, and essentially what we have to do for each, I believe. So this is going to be string. Yeah. So first comes the strings as string, and for all of these things, is it possible to get the current index in for each? So let's actually close all of these tabs and do something like PHP for each index. W3 docs for each. I want to read the official manual. It's kind of the current state of the internet is really sad when some SEO optimized website that are probably generated by language models actually at the top and the official source like the second one. It's a very sad state of the internet, and in the coming years it's gonna be even more sad, I believe, right? As the language models become more and more accessible, it's just like the search engines become useless, essentially. So, yeah. I wonder, is that the reason why majority of the language models use the data before 2022? Is because after, you know, the releases of GPT-3, it's just like everything on the internet is basically garbage generated by these models, and it's not suitable for training anything new. Is that the reason, or there's other reason? I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Right. And so, and all of the language models are going to be stuck in 2021 because of that. Because that's the last year where you could more or less trust to be human generated, right? It's kind of interesting, is that like we're gonna get stuck in 2021, I think. All right. So I think I already saw that. Okay, so here is the as key value. Okay, so I suppose we can do something like as n like this. Yo, look at that ligature, man. Yo, that is so sexy. My God, can your Emacs do that? Can your Emacs do that? I didn't think so. So does this assembly have a function scope for defining data, or is it accessible anywhere in assembly program? Would you need to have a lot of unique names for data? I think, yeah, you have to have a lot of unique names for data, as far as I know. It doesn't really handle scopes. It's a very simplistic assembly. Why no Emacs? Because Emacs is shit. Real software developers use Vim. That's right. Real software developers use Vim. All right. So what we're gonna have? So let me do this thing. So it's gonna be, I suppose, str, and for the str we're gonna have n, and then we're gonna have db and just like something. I haven't decided how we're gonna be generating all that, but yeah. So there we go. So this is the strings db, and we have to generate something. But the way I want to generate that, actually, I want to generate it similarly to how I do that for Porth. So essentially, I'm taking the codes of each individual character and I put them as bytes, right? And it just allows me to not think about escaping or anything like that. This is actually a very convenient way of doing that, right? So if you just like generate them as bytes, you don't care about escaping, right? You don't have to think about that. So let's go ahead and just do that. And I wonder how we can do that. Can I do for each on a string, right? If I do string as C, right? And I can do that in here. So then here I can do something like C. So let's give it a try. So invalid arguments applied for each. Okay. PHP for each string. How can I do that? Mr. Sojin, at what point are you going to write your own assembly? It's not particularly interesting, to be fair, because it's more about, it's a very tedious job of going through the manual of like Intel manual or maybe ARM manual and just mapping you know, the mnemonics to a corresponding instructions. It's not particularly interesting, to be fair. And it's not particularly hard. It's more of a like a tedious job. If you know what I mean. Right. No need of for each. Excuse me. For each string in PHP. I know what you mean. But yeah. I suppose I'll have to actually take the length, unpack. Is it going to turn it into a list? It kind of sounds a bit slow, to be fair. Sounds a bit slow. So what I'm thinking is that maybe, let me take a look at the for loop. Is the for loop basically C for loop? Right, is the C style for loop? Let's go to SEO optimized website. Yeah, it's basically that. Init counter, yeah. So I kind of want to use that, if you know what I mean. For I equals 0, I less than. We can take M, right, and the M is going to be strlen string. Alright, so and in here, I essentially want, I forgot to put this thing in here, and string, can I just do it like that? I should be able to do it like that. There we go, that's what I wanted. So the next thing, how can I get the code of this entire stuff? Right. So essentially, I want to be able to do something like ORD. Did I first try it? Yeah, because in the majority of the languages, the function that takes a character and converts it to a code is called ORD, right? And I just literally guessed it. So this is how language models do that as well, right? So they have seen something in one language, and then when you ask them to translate to a different language, they may try to basically assume that it's kind of like that in a different language if they don't really know the language that well. Right, so they kind of think kind of similar to how humans think, surprisingly, right? So they're really good at mimicking humans specifically. So yeah, and one of the main complaints is that they make up shit, right? Hallucinate code. But I demonstrated on today's stream that I also hallucinate the code, right? Especially when I'm just like sort of trying out different things. I don't remember how to do a particular thing or don't know how to do a particular thing in language. I can just hallucinate some syntax because I just don't want to interact my trail with thoughts. Right, so why not? But I can always go back to that, right, and change something. So essentially what I want to do in here, right, so, well, to be fair, specifically something like unpack could have been useful in here. Right, so let me see what unpack does. Right, so I'm really curious. I suppose it just like turns it into a list or whatnot, right? So unpack string, and I want to do something like print r. Let me see. So expects at least 2 parameters. Who expects? Unpack. Okay, so I don't know how unpack works then. So let's just Google that. But you can play chess. Believe it or not, I cannot play chess. Right? I'm actually really bad at chess. Binary data. So this is not how it works. What does it do? Unpack data from a binary string format. No, this is not what I want. No, this is not what I want. That's for sure. Anyway, so the thing we're gonna do, I'm going to just, I'm gonna put a space in here, and essentially we're gonna just print C. But if I is greater than 0, we're going to also print this thing in here, and then at the end we're going to print a new line. There we go, a boom. And it didn't work because why? I can't see shit in this mist. What do we have in here? I forgot a semicolon. Look at that code. Isn't that pores? This is like an actual like assembly code. Okay, so let's actually go back to hello.c. Right, so I'm gonna comment out this step, and this is basically the hello world. As you can see here, we have the data that we're supposed to maybe print and stuff like that. So I want to maybe redirect all of that to test. I can see shit in this mist. Okay, test fasm, right? So test fasm, I'm gonna cut it, so this is what we have. I can try to do fasm on this thing. This just compiled successfully. Look at that. This is test. It didn't really give us like a executable for some reason. But who cares? So I can do chmod plus. It's kind of interesting. So for hello it did that. Oh, this is because it's a hello from C. That's why I did that. Okay, so one thing I have to do, I have to make it executable, and it printed hello world. But look at that. /n. This is because our Alexa does not support escaping, but it actually compiled to hello world. So one of the things we probably have to do, so let's actually quickly do that. So let's add support for escaping. Right, let me see. So how are we handling the string literals, right? How we handling string literals? Let me see. So when we encounter the open double quote, right? So essentially, we keep chopping the character while the current character is not equal to double quote. So I think we need to move this entire thing inside of this condition, right? And essentially the idea is going to be the following. We're going to switch case upon each and individual character, like so. Right. And if we encounter the double quote, we essentially break. But here's an interesting thing. What if we encounter backslash? Right, so we encounter backslash. And this one is even more interesting. Right. So in that case, I kind of just chop the current character. Right, I just chop the current character. And I look at the next character again. Right, but this one is rather interesting. Right, so essentially if we encounter the open bracket, I think we have to actually break out of the loop. Damn, how do you do that actually? Is there something like go-to in forbidden fruit? Break 2. Is that a thing? So let's actually see. Break from outer loop. Go to. Let me see. Break 2 is a thing. So break was so good, they implemented break 2. Holy shit. Yes. The sequel we all waited for. Break 2. Yo. I suppose it's just like it denotes the nestiness, right? So it denotes the nestiness. So let me see. So there's a break 3 even. Okay. Cannot break 3 levels. Okay. But how does it work with switch cases, by the way? Does it work well with... Okay, exits only the switch. Okay, beautiful, thank you. So let's do break 2, electric boogaloo. Yo. So we can even do something like this. That actually works really well if you think about it. I like it. I kind of like this idea. It's pretty cool. So default, we can actually set the default to be, you know, something like this. Right, so if we encounter default, we just do that. Right. And on the backslash, we actually have to check if we are still not empty. If this is empty, right? So if after all of that, the Lexa became empty, we have to throw an error. We have to straight up throw an error because we encountered unfinished escape sequence. That's what we did. So how we're going to do that? We're going to print, and in here we're going to say we need to get the location. We can say something like lock. And here we can say unfinished escape sequence, like so, and we're going to exit with a 69 as 69. That's what we're going to do. All right, so after that, we can switch upon what we saw in here, right? So if we encountered essentially this thing, actually n, right? So for now, we want to handle n. We have to turn it into a new line, which essentially means that what we have to do is collect the characters, right? So we have to collect the characters. Is there something like a string builder for PHP? PHP string builder, right? PHP string builder strings. Okay, but I want a string builder. Is there something like that? Do I have to concatenate this thing? String concatenation performance. I guess I can do that. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. So let's call it literal, right? And this is what we're gonna have in here. So the idea is the following, right? So by default, we have that. So we chop the character. Though what we have to do, essentially, we have to do literal. Can I do plus equals? I should be able to do plus equals. This source, this current. Right, so this current, and then I chop that specific character. So I just append this entire thing. In case of n, right? In case of n, what I do? I'm gonna append literally new line here. So, and if it's something else, if it is something else, I'm going to. Well, I mean, I probably don't really have to have the scope in here, but essentially what I want to do, I want to throw an error. Does anybody know why the fuck it's doing that? Can your Emacs do that? I don't fucking think so. Anyway, so break after brace, is that something bad? I mean, I don't understand. Is it something really fucking bad that like impossible to handle or something? Apparently it is. Apparently it is an unsolved computer science problem to actually put default after the break. So yeah. Anyways, so what I want to say is that I need to have a location, the current location. So all of that is not particularly convenient, right? So because I don't like referring to this stuff all the time, it's kind of meh. So maybe I'm gonna have something like ch, and I'm gonna literally move this entire stuff to something like this, right? Right. So this is ch now. Then, when I'm appending some stuff, I'm gonna be appending that specific ch in here, right? And then chop a character. But here, I'm going to also have something like that. So this is going to be escape. Let's call it escape. Right. So, and this is escape. So, and that makes it kind of easier to say error unknown escape sequence starts with and just escape. You see what I mean? It kind of makes it easier. But on top of that, we have to print the current location of this entire stuff. And I kind of want to print the location of the escape sequence, but I already kind of chopped it, didn't I? I'm not sure. Maybe not. Maybe I can literally just do that location like so. So on top of that, here I also probably have to chop it. Right. This chop character. So the reason why I write such a code, such a branchy code, is because it makes it easier to then add more escape sequences in here. You know what I mean? So in the future, it's super easy, even right now, not in the future specifically, just add double quote, like so. And that's it. So now we also support double quotes, why not? And then even more, like as many as you want. It's just like you add a new thing in here, and it just works. Hopefully, we'll see. Maybe something will break in here, but I mean, this is how I usually write all of that stuff. Right, so that should be pretty straightforward. Okay, so let's actually try to compile this entire thing. And we, of course, have some sort of a syntax error. So let me see where exactly that happened. Line 183. Of course, it happened somewhere here. And guess what I forgot? I forgot a semicolon in here. It's surprising that it... Okay, so it basically just checks syntactical errors. And... Okay. That's very interesting. So a numeric value encountered... okay. So what's up with that? ch, a numeric. Ah, really? It is a numeric value. Ah, I see. Thank you, chat. Yeah, concatenation. Well, I mean, at least in this language, concatenation of strings and number sum are different operations, right? At least, which is already kind of good, right? So because a lot of languages just mix that up. Okay, so 172, and I mean it's kind of a similar situation in both of these cases as well. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got. We got test asm, and let's find out if it's any good. I suppose it is not, because I don't see any new lines at the end of this entire thing, right? Nothing particularly changed, in my opinion, right, as far as I can tell, which is kind of a shame. So, okay, let's try to compile test asm, and then did it compile? It's still, what if I remove this entire thing and recompile it one more time? It's kind of weird. Okay, it's very interesting. Look at this. I made it executable, then I can recompile it one more time, and it's still executable. That means that it doesn't create a new file. It probably literally opens a new file, truncates it, or maybe it just remembers the previous things you put there. Like, that's a very interesting behavior, actually. So yeah, that's very strange, and it still puts slash new. I'm not sure what the fuck is going on, but apparently, yeah, what the fuck. Okay, so let me see what's going on. So this is hello C, and we're supposed to have this thing in here, so I'm not quite sure. Oh, I know what's going on. I'm appending all of that to a literal variable, but I don't use it anywhere. Of course. It's the usual case of writing some code and just not using it. Classic. Freaking classic. So, okay, so this is basically what we have in here. Right, so if it's not empty, I just do that, otherwise unclose string literal. So instead of value in here, yeah, I can just basically put a literal in here, right? So that's what we do. Yeah, boy. Okay, so let's try to now compile it one more time. There we go. As you can see, if you take a look, we have 10 at the end of the string literal. We have 10, which is a new line. Is it new line? I think it is new line. Okay, so let's now try to do fasm, and I'm gonna run this entire thing. Yeah, I forgot to save it into test asm. Right, so let's try to recompile it one more time. Boom, look at that. New line. New freaking line. We do support escaping, and we do all of that properly. So we can go to hello.c, right? So and then we can just do it like that, and we can recompile it one more time. So I'm saving that in here, and fasm test. Oh, this is not how I'm supposed to do that. Awesome. There we go. Yeah. And something is very sussy. Something is extremely freaking sussy. as you can see in here. So it kind of overlaps with all of that in here, and it's just like, what the fuck? Excuse me. Okay, let's give it let's try to debug that. All right, so let's just simply not put that stuff in here. What the hell is going on? What the hell is going on? Why? I forgot a new line. I think. Did I? This is weird. What the fuck? Okay, so let's go to c.php and let's generate some stuff in here. Right, so where is that? What the hell is going on? This is not what I expected. Right. These are like completely different strings. So if I go to hello.c and I put this to comment. Okay, so it's 110. Makes sense. I put this stuff in here. It's something else. It stops at, like, it loses some of this stuff. How does that make any sense? This is like the least what I wouldn't expect such a bug. Let's put it this way. That's the weirdest bug. Okay, so this is a little bit weird. What the fuck is M? Why M? Yeah. That's okay. I think that's what I forgot. I probably accidentally removed some code. Now we're talking. Okay, so everything is fine now. So let me try to do that. Test asm, right? So then fasm test asm. There we go, and then I can run that, and it is hello world important without a new line, right? So we print things with new line and without the new line. So the thing that we don't support right now is basically the format arguments and stuff like that. But for this specific example, by the way, this kind of stuff can be evaluated at compile time, right? We can literally just evaluate them at compile time. But I think I'm gonna leave it for maybe offline or maybe for the next time, right? So the thing I did, the most important thing I did is that I basically added the assembly backend, right? So, and I think it's good for today. It is good for today. We're literally, chat, just think about that. We took this C code. This is literally the C code that we took. And we wrote a PHP script, PHP, c.php, that given this C code, right, generates assembly, right? So we have to provide the specific target in here, but there we go, right? So that assembly was generated by a PHP script from this C file. And it works, and it behaves just like if you would compile that with GCC or something like that. It's a small subset of C, but yeah. So that's pretty cool, I think. So it would be kind of cool to get that joke even further and actually implement like a standard compliant C compiler in PHP, at least like something simple like C89. Right, so ANSI C. Is that ANSI C? C89, right? I think that's the thing. Right. That would have been interesting. And then take that thing and try to compile something like TCC. Sounds like a pretty cool idea, actually, if you think about that. That would be cool. So, and you can even use TCC as basically the test case, right? So essentially, try to compile TCC, see at what features it fails to compile, implement that feature, and like move on until you implement the entire TCC compilation. Right, or maybe Doom. That's even better for clickbait, right? So basically, compile Doom with PHP or something like that. Right. So does Doom use like C89? I think it does. Right, but that would be actually kind of fun. And it sounds doable. I mean, yeah, sounds pretty doable. Why not? So yeah, that's pretty cool. So I hope I acknowledge everyone. I think Tis Woody, thank you so much for tier 1. I think I acknowledged you already, but yeah. So yeah. So basically that's for today. I'm going to compile, I'm gonna commit whatever we've done already. Git status, that's a lot of stuff that I probably don't want to commit. So let me take a look, git status. So I probably don't want to include asm files, right? So let's actually git ignore them. Asm files, git status, and we have hello and test. Let's actually remove them. Git add, git ignore c.php hello.c. I'm gonna commit everything by saying add assembly target. Add assembly target. I'm gonna push that right into the repo. That's right. So you can find the source code of this entire thing in here if you are interested. Right? If you're interested, I'm gonna copy paste it in the chat. So does anyone have any questions before I go? Does anyone have any questions? Right. I don't know if I'm going to continue this project, by the way, so I really don't know. So yes, we're developing PHP. That's pretty poggers. Yes. I guess no questions, right? I guess everything's clear. Maybe updated PHP 8. That would be interesting, actually. Because in PHP 8, as far as I know, there are like types, so you can annotate types. Thoughts on Go? I mean, it's using telemetry, like, I mean, come on. Unfortunately, I still have some projects in Go that I cannot just easily migrate, but overall, I'm not starting any new projects in Go, that's for sure. Do you like Swift? We discussed Swift today. But the problem is that Swift doesn't really easily run on my machine. Yes. All right, I guess that's it for the day. Thanks everyone who's watching right now. I really appreciate it. Hope it was fun. It was fun for me, definitely. Have a good one, and I see you all next time. I love you all.